Hello, I decided I'm going to go back to work on this textile art piece that still doesn't have a name, and I figured I would turn on the camera and bring you along with me. So let's see, since I was last here, I've been making a lot of French knots, and I've just kind of been coming along my couched area. Haven't finished it, have not decided what I'm going to do up here yet, and that's okay. I may work on that today. And then because I was working with heavier threads for the French knots, I came back in here with just 2 threads to do some little bullion knots, and they're one of my favorite knots to do. It's a very simple knot, and I'll probably do a little bit more of that. But I was thinking about this piece, so I did decide I'm going to put some beads on here, just kind of random, and I'm going to use just a single strand of floss. And because I don't like fighting with things, I am going to use this beading needle, which has got the split, so it makes it easy to thread. Sometimes I use these for things that aren't beads, but it's very, very thin. And I just kind of want to add a little bit of sparkle. I'm not going to worry about, trying to put them in a certain place each time. I'm just going to bring up my needle somewhere and add a bead. And this bead's gonna kind of blend in, but just at certain angles you'll see that sparkle. And that's exactly what I want. Just a little surprise, like if you were walking in the forest and you saw like a stone that had a little bit of sparkle at it, but you don't always see it. It depends on where the light's hitting it. That's what I want. And just putting beads on singly like this, there's no real technique to it. Maybe there is. Everything I'm doing is self-taught, so I just kind of feel my way. And that's the whole idea of doing any kind of free-form art. This happens to be free-form textile art. But if you're doing a mixed media piece, you wouldn't be, looking at, well, where's the exact place that I need to put that next, stroke of something sparkly. You would just be following what, in the moment felt like the right thing to do. And mostly the only thing I think about when I'm doing, something like beads or anything that's going to have a little bit of an impact for where the eye, travels or stays for any length of time, is I like to work in odd numbers, and that's because nature likes odd numbers. See, that just kind of blends in, but sometimes you're going to see it, and that's okay. That's exactly what I want. Just sometimes you're going to see it. I think I only went through there once, so let's go through there again. This is not something that's going to be going through the laundry, so I don't think I'm as worried about how strong, they're strong, they're not going to be coming off, but it's not like they're going to be whipping around in the dryer where they might be inclined to come off. And I want to do one more, and I think I'm going to come back over here. The nice thing about these beading needles is they are nice and thin, and they really do go through. If you got really heavy stitching someplace, they will go through that. And these are just little, they're called bugle beads. And I will say that probably the majority of my beads have been from getting things at the thrift store, like old jewelry at the thrift store, or some old jewelry that people have given me, and then I can dismantle it and have the beads and use them in a different way. Just a little bit of sparkle depending on where you turn. I'm going to come down here, and you can also do several at once and get a little clump. So it's going to be a little different. You've got a line of them here, so it just depends. It's kind of like a bullion knot where you can lay it down and make little tentacles, but I kind of like to gather them like that. So it is harder to go through all 3 at once like that. If you were using a double strand of floss, you probably wouldn't have to worry about that. So that may be something I would do in the future. Just wasn't thinking about it. Let's see here. When you've got all these little odds and ends hanging out all over the place, it does kind of get in the way. So now I can come through and separate my three if I want. And I know this is hard to see because they blend in, but if you come up in between the stitches where they were connected, then they're going to lay down a little flatter. So I'm going to come over here and come in between these two. I need to do a demo of this on alternating colors so they pop up a little more. But now they lay down a little better. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that. So let's come over here. And we're going to add another one. My favorite part of this kind of work is the fact that I don't have to keep looking at a pattern like when I would try counted cross stitch and I'd have to remember, you know, what went where, or when I did any kind of needlework kits. You know, you have to look at, you know, well, you use this color and then you switch for one strand to this color. And for some people, you know, I admire the beautiful work that they do. I just have finally accepted my brain doesn't work that way. And, you know, until you accept that your brain doesn't work that way, you start thinking you're doing everything wrong because you're not doing it like everybody else is doing it. When you figure out that, oh, well, I'm just wired differently and this is the way my brain works to just kind of do things, you know, free-form and instinctively as to whatever feels good in the moment, whatever looks good with what I'm working on. When I figured out that's the way my brain worked, all of a sudden everything got easier. Everything got so much less stressful, and most importantly, it got more fun. Can't find the hole of the bead. It got so much more fun when I wasn't worried about trying to make mine look like somebody else. And it's not that you want to make it look like somebody else's, but you can admire a technique and think, oh man, you don't want to do that. And I can get to the same place. I just have to take a different road because of the way my brain is wired. And once you accept that about yourself, whichever way your brain is wired to work, you'll be a lot more confident because you're not trying to figure out how to do it in a way that is foreign to you. It's sort of like, you know, if you were born left-handed and then somebody tied your left hand behind your back and told you, no, you have to learn to do it all right-handed, it feels wrong. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't come easily. Whereas when you work with your own internal compass, the way you're wired, life gets easier. Oh, I like that. I like the little sparkle. I like that it's not standing up and shouting and saying, look at me. Okay, so what I'm thinking I want to do, because I want to do a line, I'm going to, now I'm thinking about the center here and how nice it would be to do a little cluster. 3, sometimes you can just stick them into the thing. 4, sort of like fish in a barrel, right? 6, 7. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Now, I could leave it as a hanging bit. I could pull it up in a little circle, but that doesn't look very natural to me. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is it's going to hang, but I want to be able to kind of move them around. Or maybe I want to pile them on top of each other. Let's see, and give myself kind of like a little sparkly rosette kind of thing. All right, so right now it's sticking up, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's, you know, the look you're going for, but it's not the look I'm going for. So now I'm going to start messing with it. Probably should have left the thread a little looser to be able to maneuver it some. A little teardrop shape. Oh, and I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, looser shape, and probably 5 would have been good. But we're going to take another one. And because this is standalone, I can always, whoops. Well, I definitely don't need it going on the back, do I? In the center there. Well, that's just all kinds of stuff, huh? There we go. Grab my bead. And I'm going to fill in the center with just that one bead. It's okay. I don't know. I think maybe I shouldn't have done so many. I should have done only 5. But I'm going to leave it. Sometimes things look better after a little bit, but then I'm going to add something else. And I can always come up with some threads, you know, and kind of diffuse it a little bit. if I decide that's what I want to do. But I think what I'm going to do is just another bead. I often find that while I'm doing something, I consider it the ugly phase. I just, I almost always say, I don't like it, I don't like it, I, made a mistake, I screwed something up. That's like my normal go-to for me, because I'm just so not a confident artist. But I have learned over time that what I need to do is just don't worry about it for a few days and let things sit. Although this one I really do want to stitch down and have it on the big piece so that I can figure out my knots. The doing knot work is a great TV activity for me. Just was trying to get that one down there. All right, now if we have this like this, I'm thinking I might need to come just a little bit more down, like maybe over here we can have like one more bead that's fallen here, and then I can let this be blank, I think. So do let me know in the comments if you would like to see more of this free form textile art, and if you would like me to go from the beginning of something where, I don't actually, grab a piece of fabric and decide that I'm going to paint it for something like this. I go through my stash, but I can talk through that. And maybe one more right here. So now the question is, if I keep going, is that going to add, detract? I might need to do a couple more, huh? I'm thinking, yep, I think I need 2 more. I want to decide because I do want to get this stitched down. And these don't have to be super prominent. The fact that they're, kind of tucked behind the other threads is actually a plus in my book. So again, it's another one, it's there, but it's not standing up saying, look at me, I'm center stage. The idea is for everything to flow from one thing to the next. Okay, and that works because then I can put one over here, and then the little tail can hang down on its own. Okay, I think that's it. And sometimes to finish things off, I like to just put a little knot. So I'm just going to do a little, the needle threaded, although it's harder to maneuver. There we go. Just do a little bullion knot there to finish things off. I like that. So maybe we'll just do, we've still got thread on the needle, we might as well use it up, right? Although I confess I'm going to change to the other needle because I'm not going to worry about it. All right, let's just use up this thread with a few knots. The color goes great with what's already happening here. And I do not try to do precise knots. I like sloppy knots. I cannot lie. And we'll just do a French knot. And do I have enough thread to come up here and do something? I do. With one more sloppy knot right about here. I don't count the number of loops. I don't try and make each one the same. It might horrify some people. I'm sorry. But, do what works for you. If you really want to have it another way, do it another way. All right, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. That was all I needed. Okay, since I've got this threaded, maybe that's what I will do. I'm going to cut this off, though. First, let's take a look at what we've got. Now we got just a little bit of sparkle. Just a little bit, and I think that's great. You won't always see it. It's not looking you right in the face. I like that I softened it here a little bit. I like all these colors. Now, how am I going to sew it on? I've got a few options. Make sure that all the lace that I want out. I don't have anything buried back there. Okay, that's good. I'm okay with things hanging off the edge, I think. But really, these guys come towards the front. There we go. There we go. All right, so now if you don't want to stitch, you could absolutely take some fiber tack or some fabric glue of some kind and glue that down. I'm not going to do that. I could just stitch right here in the center and then just like do a little tack at each side. I could do a running stitch on the straight pieces. I can add some more of my crazy knots. See, little threads, some longer ones here that need to be cut back. Make sure that the right stuff is going to be sitting over. So, I guess I'm just going to do probably some little seed stitches. I like that idea. Now, the other question is, do I want to stay in the neutral color of, closer to the fabric? And I think I do. I think that's what I want to do because I don't want to call attention away from this piece. I want to let things kind of fall into the background. So we're just going to do some little seed stitches, I think, to hold it down. And let's be smart, Susan. Let's put the pins back in, because as soon as I start picking this up to stitch, I'll forget to look and make sure I'm lined up. So shout it out to me, right? Say, you're going off center, you're crooked. Wouldn't that be fun if you could actually just, I mean, I know you can do it on Zoom, but sometimes in the videos I wish that people could just shout through the screen, especially when I lose a needle, which happens way too much. Okay, I'm going to just pull these guys down so that I hopefully don't get them caught in things. And already this looks crooked. And yes, some people would say you should be working with an embroidery hoop, but an embroidery hoop, to be honest, throws me back to childhood when I had just horrible experiences with doing any kind of hand stitching. So the further away from an embroidery hoop I can stay, the happier I am. Just, for me, they just don't make me happy, so I don't do them. I just believe in only doing art in ways that I have a good time. And if something sends me back to, a childhood trauma, it doesn't seem like it's a really good idea for me. I feel like I'm very awkward with my hand movements with the needle when I'm on camera. Everything goes so much smoother when I'm not, but that's just the way of it, right? These little stitches just sort of blend into the background. That's good. Now, let's stop and look. I think I'm okay with that. Take that pin out. I need to move this over just a little. I'm going to try and just kind of tack down, I've got lots of thread, so I think I'm just going to see if I can come up and down the length of it so that it's stitched down without puckering. And then I can go back and make sure it's really firmly adhered. It's hard when you're using threads that are the same color of everything you're working on. It's like, wait a minute, where did it go? Make sure before I go back down in the middle of my nest here. Let's see if we can just come up over here. I'm just going to take my time to make sure that I'm not doing this, pulling it up too far, puckering it, stitching something I don't want to have stitched. Just take my time. There's no rush, okay? No rush. And nothing that can't be fixed. If you mess it up and the whole thing goes cattywampus, you take your scissors, you cut it out the best you can, and then you just add some more little fibers and threads on top to fix it. I know when I was younger, if I'd have done something like that, I probably would have tossed it across the room, had a good cry, and probably never picked it up again. I just didn't understand that, you know, unless it was brain surgery that you messed up, you probably were going to be okay. And I mean, maybe you're not a nervous, unconfident artist, and hats off to you if that's the case. But I think, you know, the confidence, like anything, whether you're doing art or riding a bike or baking a cake, it comes from, you know, practice. You build the muscle memory and you build the confidence. You build the confidence, you build the muscle memory. Learning to dance. All right, and I will come back and do some more little seed stitches here, but first I just really want to get to the end. All right, that's all for now. Join me next time, and I think I will be working on some knots. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And if you're not already a member of the Facebook group, I hope you will join us over there where we share our art and support one another on our creative journeys, just because.